जयति पराशरसूनुः सत्यवती हृदयनन्दनो व्यासः यस्य आस्यकमलगलितं वाङ्मयममृतं जगत्पिबति भुजगभोगाभमुद्यम्य हृद्यं निजभुजं दक्षिणं लक्षणाढ्यं ललितमुद्रिक्तविज्ञानमुद्रं भज भज अनन्तमित्यालपन्तं प्रणतवान् प्राणिनां प्राणभूतं प्रणतिभिः प्रणये पूर्णबोधम् भवदवोष्णेन तातप्यमानान् भुवि परं नाथमप्रेक्षमाणान् भुवनमान्येन च अन्येन दोष्णा भवतु भीर्मा इति नः सान्त्वयन्तम् प्रणतवान् प्राणिनां प्राणभूतं प्रणतिभिः प्रणये पूर्णबोधम्.
Let us dwell a little bit on the numerology. What is the main number of Mahabharata? It is 18. There are 18 parvas. Why this 18? Mahabharata's number is 18. Ramayana's number is 7. It is by design we have 18 parvas in Mahabharata and 7 kandas in Ramayana. Bhagavad-Gita has 18 chapters by design. The number 18 is at the core of Indian philosophy. There are many facets to this fact. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna describes the world as a triangle. Dvavimau purushau loke ksharaha cha aksharaha eva cha ksharaha sarvani bhutani kutastaha aksharaha uchyate. Uttamaha purushaha tu anyaha parama atma iti udahritaha yaha lokatrayam avishya bibharti avyayaha ishwaraha. Yasmat ksharam atitaha aham aksharat api cha uttamaha ataha asmi loke vede cha prathitaha purusha uttamaha. Yaha mam evam asammudaha janati purushottamam saha sarvavit bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. The above words are at the end of the 15th chapter. I am taking a slightly different approach to describing this by starting at the end, very similar to the Arabic tradition. According to Krishna, a triangle represents this prapancha or the world. Kshara, Akshara and Purushottama constitute the 3 sides of the triangle. There are 16 ksharas, 17 aksharas, and the 18th is the Purushottama. Kshara refers to the 16 entities that reside in a human body or the jiva and is perishable. Kshara refers to the jiva with 15 boundary enclosures or fences. These 15 fences are the creation of Akshara or Prakriti. The one who frees the jiva from these 15 fences is the 18th number, Purushottama. So, 16 is the jiva trapped by 15 fences. The Upanishad lists these 15 fences as Pranat Shraddham Vayo. The innermost fence is the fence of Shraddha. The entire development of one's whole personality is in the fence of Shraddha. We grow according to our beliefs or faith which may sound contradictory to a person who depends on logic for every action. Whether God exists or not is not easily provable by logic or otherwise. Logic is a product of our belief. All arguments have their limitations. With logic, one can formulate arguments in any situation according to convenience. In Kathopanishad, it is said that rational arguments alone will not achieve anything. So, do not waste time by using logic to argue about things that logic cannot help prove. Experience and not argument helps realization. Here one example comes to mind. Sri Shankaracharya once talks about the taste of yogurt, milk, grapes, and honey. How can one differentiate between the sweetness of yogurt, the sweetness of grapes, the sweetness of milk, and the sweetness of the bee honey? Is it possible to describe the differences only through words? It is practically impossible to do so. The best way to describe the sweetness or the taste of an item is to experience it by savoring it. When we cannot even explain the experience of the taste of an item with words alone, how can we describe God with mere words? Words are the limitation to explaining an experience, no matter the language. Words are helpful to remind us of what we already know. Words cannot sufficiently describe what we do not know. In many instances, things cannot be identified with mere words. We have seen this example of the taste of milk. We can say that milk does not taste like coffee or tea or water, and so on and so forth. We can say something tastes like milk, but it is not possible to positively describe the taste of milk. Therefore, our rishis said about God, Neti neti atma adrishyaha nahi grihyate. One can explain what God is not like, but we cannot explain what God is like. We can say that God is not like anything that we know. The closest description of God is Om. In Sanskrit, the sound Om comes from the integration of the three sounds A, U, and Ma. A stands for not. So, God is not like anything that we know. The second letter is U, and it stands for Uttama. Thus, God is superior to anything we know. The third letter, Ma, means to know. It means that God is knowable. So finally, from negative assertions in A and U, we move to a positive assertion in the letter Ma, that God is knowable. How much does anyone know about God? Very little. When we visit Himalayas, how much of the Himalayas can we see? Again, very little. One can visit a mountain or a few mountains, but the entire extent of the Himalayas is so vast that it is impossible to see every peak and every valley of the Himalayas, even if one spends a lifetime. The view from the top of any mountain is so gorgeous and fabulous. One feels like going back again and again. In the same way, it is not possible to know the full extent of God. But one cannot just give up and not attempt to know God. Just make an honest attempt to know God to the best of your ability. The Upanishad says, Abhijanatham Vijanatham Vijanatham Abhijanatham. I doubt if such a beautiful verbal description is available in any other language. What is said here? Abhijanatham Vijanatham. The one who knows does not know. Vijanatham Abhijanatham. The one who does not know is the knower. Here, when we refer to the one with knowledge or the one who knows, we refer to the one who has the ego and the utter belief that he knows everything. It is impossible to fully know what is knowable when a person has an ego. On the other hand, the one who knows that he does not know is the true knower. For example, when asked about the world, a very knowledgeable person would probably say that it is too vast for him to describe, and he does not know it. Thus, true knowledge is to know that we do not know, and this is the first step towards wisdom. So the person who does not know about his ignorance cannot develop. The true knowledge seeker knows that his knowledge is insufficient, has the desire to know, and seeks out a guru to provide knowledge on the things he does not know. The first step of development is to know we do not know. Our ancients knew that knowledge is to know that we do not know. Let us contemplate about sleep. If one thinks about this deeply, one realizes that what we know while asleep, we do not know while awake. We go about living our life without being aware that we are awake. While dreaming, as we sleep, we are not awake. But everyone feels good after deep sleep. And we know how we feel after waking up from deep sleep and feel completely refreshed and recharged. Why is that? While awake, we work hard to achieve happiness. We toil away every day, every week, every year with the desire to enjoy happiness in the future. But do we experience true happiness while awake? No. So after spending a lifetime like this, toiling away every day for achieving happiness, one day our life comes to an end without experiencing happiness while being awake. We experience true bliss only during deep sleep. There is no suffering while one is asleep. Thus, we do not experience any suffering while asleep. After waking up from a deep sleep, It is common to hear someone say that he slept very happily or like a log. An important observation that our ancient philosophers made. It is possible to experience pure joy or pure bliss during deep sleep. There is no true happiness when we are awake, since we are constantly working hard. In life, sorrow follows joy. So, how is it that during deep sleep we experience pure bliss without experiencing any sorrow? Why can we not experience this while awake? It is worth contemplating about sleep. The main reason is that our true self is awake even during deep sleep. So our awareness or consciousness continues to be awake even during deep sleep. It is the same awareness that helps one to wake up at some predetermined time after sleeping. When we did not have alarm clocks in the olden days, how could we wake up at a predetermined time after sleeping? The clock in our mind helps us to do so. Now we have lost that internal clock and we depend on external devices such as alarm clocks for waking us up. In olden days, our ancestors did not study from textbooks. They learned by oral transfer of knowledge and by using their memory to store information. The teachers would give a lecture or upanyasa on a specific subject. The students would learn by listening attentively, and there were no boards to write on and no books to take notes. So whatever one knew was stored in their memory. Dr. Alexis Carrel, a well-known biologist, makes a very important observation about animals. No one has built any homes for the animals in the jungle. They live in harmony with nature and do not need any doctor. They already have the antibodies to resist external elements. We need to take domesticated animals to veterinary doctors even for small ailments like the cold. By being domesticated, their natural resistance has decreased. We humans catch a cold even from simple events like getting wet in the rain. So we use devices like an umbrella to protect us from rain, to save ourselves from catching a cold. Today, we live a life with a lot of dependency on external support, like textbook, notes, etc., instead of relying on our internal capabilities like our memory. And this is at our disposal. We have lost our true nature. Let us now come back to the beginning, where I talked about the 15 walls within us. Of the 15 walls, one important wall is the wall of faith. We have to break out of this wall of faith. Faith is good and bad. One can have faith in one's own logic to the extent that he can argue endlessly based on flawed logic. On the subject of argument based on pure logic, Madhvacharya says, Shushka tarkantu varjayet. One should throw out arguments based on dry logic without the support of experience. So there is no point arguing on a subject without experience. The beauty of the experience is that after the experience, the argument becomes a moot point. So, until we have the experience, there is no point in just quoting the scriptures. Our experience is our guiding truth. On matters where we do not have the experience, we should not argue, but should develop our faith and learn from the masters who have experienced the truth. Thus, it is crucial to learn from those who truly know. Now we come to another problem. How do we know who has the true experience and who does not? We have started listening to anybody who says that they have the true experience. So we start believing anybody who quotes the Gita. Not a good state of affairs indeed. How do we know who has the real knowledge? People with real knowledge often do not show off their knowledge. They look like very ordinary folks. And people with little knowledge often tend to show off as if they are very learned, with a lot of glitz and glamour to catch the attention of the common folk. Thus, we are at a point where the common folk can easily get distracted by external show and pomp and are blind to the real essence of the true knowledge. It is said in the Upanishads, Andhenaiva niyamana yatantaha. When a blind man leads another blind person, where can they go? This same message echoes in the Bible too, that when a blind man leads another blind man, both fall into a ditch. Thus, we must develop our faith wall and follow those who have experienced the truth to get true knowledge.